If you've ever given everything, your time, your savings, your passion, your heart into a project and it just flopped. If you've ever studied hours and hours for a test and you still got a D, you believed in yourself, you showed up, you tried, and then when it didn't work out, you believed you were the failure. This is probably the most important video you're going to watch. I launched a clothing brand back in January. I put all my time, my savings, my belief into it, and I literally got 0 sales. That's not true actually. I did get 1 sale and it was my mum. But that failure taught me more about success than anything has ever done before. I'm gonna share with you today 5 mindset shifts to completely transform the way you feel about failure, because after this, I can guarantee you inevitable success. Mindset shift number 1. Everybody fears failure because they believe it's the end of the story. You believe that you tried, gave it your all, and there's no other way around it now because that one project or one exam flopped. Einstein said that failure is success in progress, and I think we can all collectively agree that he was pretty smart. When you fail, it introduces you to the best version of yourself, the most resilient version of yourself, the most pivoting version of yourself, so you can attain the skills to actually achieve what you want to. When I launched my clothing brand and literally didn't sell anything, it was just my mum who bought a piece of clothing, and yes, I'm embarrassed about that, and I thought that I was the failure. Instead of moping around and self-victimizing, you can take that and pivot and learn from your mistakes. That exam you failed, where did you go wrong? What did you not understand? What freaked you out about that paper? That side hustle you were really passionate about, why didn't that work out? What can you learn and take from it, rather than self-victimizing, telling yourself you're never going to be good enough, because that's literally not doing anything for you. Failure does is clear the path to who you're actually supposed to become. How do I know that I'm supposed to be a fashion brand owner? Maybe that's not what the universe has in store for me. Maybe there's something bigger and better around the corner. So stop fixating on this one thing that you think needs to succeed, because the likelihood is that if you're failing at that thing, it is a sign that actually there's something bigger and better for you around the corner. So pivot, take those chances, try something different and try something new and feel uncomfortable. Allow yourself to grow and experience something else and take those chances, because luck is actually taking the opportunity at the right time. So it might be that right now is not the right time for you to be taking that opportunity, but there is something else you can be taking that's going to make you feel like the luckiest girl in the world. This failure does not close the doors. In fact, it opens a million more. If the first thing you did was to succeed, you wouldn't have those skills. You wouldn't have resilience. You wouldn't have the ability to pivot and change depending on your situation. So you can actually become the version of yourself that you're supposed to be and will actually thrive in. Your failure is data, not identity. Data is the most valuable thing you can have, because without data, you don't know actually where the hell you're going. Instead of seeing a failure as tied to your self-worth and your identity, see it as information. If a scientist runs an experiment and it didn't do well, they don't tell themselves they're a bad scientist. They don't label themselves with that failure. So why are you labeling yourself with a failure or something that didn't go right or something that didn't go to plan? Instead, they say, okay, interesting, that didn't work. What can we try now? What variable can we change to get results? And you need to do the same in whatever project you're doing in your life. See every single thing as an experiment. Me and this YouTube channel, I don't see every video as the be all and end all. If a video flops, I don't think, oh my God, I'm such a failure, I'm such a shit YouTuber, I'm so bad at this. I think that didn't work. What can I do now? What can I change and experiment and have fun with it? Because that is the point of life. So it's not defeat, it's not rejection, it's defining where you're supposed to be going and what actually sticks. Mindset shift number 2, detach from the outcome. Now this is different to not caring about your goals, because you're allowed to care about your goals while also detaching from them. Detachment means that no matter what happens, you are still worthy and you still have that self-esteem and self-worth within you, no matter what happens externally around you. Because your self-worth shouldn't be tied to external validation, achievements, grades, and that isn't your fault, because we are taught from childhood that our results determine who we are and our success in life. You need to get 100% on your spelling test. You need to eat well and do a sport and have a hobby and do well in school and act perfectly in public and be well educated. That is what we're taught in society. When it comes into adulthood and you tie so much to your job or your schoolwork or a side project, so for me that was the business, and the results on that mean everything to you. When that fails, you tie that to your own self-worth. So then you feel like you're a failure, like you're the problem. But you need to detach from whether it's going to work or not. I had to detach myself from that money, from that work, from that passion, and realize that no matter what happens, I'm allowed to pivot and change and grow, and you do not have to attach yourself to a past self or a past project. Basically, your identity is not attached to the outcome of your external projects. Remember that people who are successful have failed more than you've even tried. You don't see those failures, because instead of seeing them as failures, they saw each one as a lesson and as an experiment. So let's say you've taken that maths test 6 times. That doesn't mean you're a failure. It means that something didn't stick within those times, and every time you got that little bit better. So what can you do differently this time? What revision approach can you do differently? What questions maybe do you need to search for? Is it exam technique? You can take that and learn from that and pivot so you eventually reach those goals. Remember not to be attached to the outcome of the goal, because it's often much better and leads you to places you never thought possible. Mindset shift number 3. If you've not failed in life, you're not reaching high enough. Most people avoid failure because they want to play it safe. They want to go down that typical route, get that safe job, ask for that promotion, not wear that new outfit. They're scared of what people are going to think of them. They're scared of how they're going to look. They're scared that maybe they'll fail at styling that thing or getting that job they're not really sure about. But by playing it safe is how you guarantee mediocrity. We are not building a community of mediocre people. Right? Even if you want a small life, you're allowed to have big ambitions and big goals. It doesn't always mean money and houses and external items. It could literally just be being able to dress up a little bit for dinner or wearing different types of jewelry and not caring what other people think. Maybe trying out that side hustle that you've always wanted to do, never had the courage to really go for it. No risk is where the growth lies. If you don't take risk and you don't fail, how are you ever going to grow? Yes, I took a risk back in January. I put a lot of my savings into that, loads of my time, and it still flopped. But I don't see that as a failure. Yes, I was embarrassed for like 2 weeks. Then I had a massive epiphany, which is that I can fail. And I survived, and I'm still here, and I'm alive, and I'm living, and I'm still trying, and I haven't given up on myself. And that is so much more powerful than if that was a massive success. What even determines success? To me, success was the fact that I did that, and instead of moping around and victimizing myself, I thought, you know what? I can take this and I can grow from it. And that failure does not determine who I am or my self-worth. And I can speak openly and I can be vulnerable about it so other people don't feel half as alone. I realized that failure meant I dared and I tried. And that already puts you ahead of like 90% of other people. Because most people want to stay in that comfort zone, but then they're never going to reach anything extraordinary. Elon Musk said himself, if things are not failing, you're not innovating enough. Evan Spiegel, the founder of Snapchat, has literally the smallest team ever. They have 9 people. But what he does is he gets them to think of like 10 ideas a day. Why? Because only 1% of those ideas they actually go with. What does that mean? That 99% of their ideas are failures? No. When you're innovative and when you try and you fail, you have a much higher chance, mathematically, of succeeding. Because the more you put out there, the faster you fail, the faster you grow. And the faster you grow, the more success you're going to see. Because you're trying and failing, seeing what works, experimenting. Rather than doing this one project and thinking that your entire worth relies on this one thing to succeed, take that pressure off yourself and realize you've got your entire life to experiment, try and fail and have shitty ideas and go through with them and realize that you dared, you tried, and that puts you ahead of like 90% of people in life. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. Trust me, you're allowed to be vulnerable and there is no shame in trying and failing. Because the best part is, because you failed, nobody saw it anyway. Mindset shift 4, which kind of links into what I just talked about. Allow yourself to feel a bit shitty about it. When you fail at something because you put your heart and soul, yes, you're gonna feel a bit crap. Like we all do. I felt so bad day and actually the week after my launch. I thought, oh my God, I put so much love and passion into this project and literally nobody cared. The truth is, nobody does care. But that doesn't mean you're not gonna feel a little bit down about it, and you're allowed to feel like that. And I'm here to validate that today because it's okay. You failed. I would actually be surprised if you succeeded, but nobody succeeds first time, and that doesn't make you a failure, babe. And I wish I had someone there to tell me that, and that is why I'm here to tell you that today, that ever you've just tried, maybe you've just failed at your test, maybe you had a side project that just flopped, maybe you're expecting a pay rise and nothing happened, or you got a pay down, maybe you're expecting a pay rise and you didn't, or you didn't get that promotion you've been working really hard towards, you didn't get into your dream university you're so hoping to go to. I'm here to tell you, you're allowed to feel a bit crap about it, but we do not self-victimize. You're allowed to feel crap about it for like a week maximum, and then we're gonna get back to it. Because you need to learn from that pain. You need to learn that you can feel that pain and still push through that self-doubt. You have to build on that failure. See it as a stepping stone. See it as a part of your success story. Now I've got something interesting to talk about. No shame in trying and failing. If anything, people will look up to you because you are there and you can openly say, yeah, I put time and effort and money, but you know what? I learned from that. I can take that and pivot it, make it into something absolutely extraordinary. I can redirect this, and I'm not going to be trapped into a box because my first idea wasn't the best. But one day you will look back and you'll be grateful that you failed that test. You'll be grateful that side project failed because instead it's a stepping stone in your life and it's going to lead you to much better places. The truth is, your ego thinks that failure equals stop. Actually, your higher self, which is the person you want to be, is saying start again but smarter. Because your higher and future self, she sees it as redirection. She sees it as a lesson that you learn and you could take from and rebuild it with better tools, better wisdom, better foundations, and better self-trust. You are not your failures. Your failures are shaping you into a much better person. And finally, mindset shift number 5, success is just recycled failure. We think that success means the opposite of failure. So if you've succeeded, you haven't failed. If you failed, you haven't succeeded. Actually, failure isn't the opposite of success. And I'm going to explain why. Because by me having that failed brand, I've learned so much. I've learned how to set up a website. I've learned how to CEO. I've learned about taxes. I've learned about marketing. I've learned about the true value of a piece of clothing. I've learned about carbon emissions. I've learned about transport. I've learned about customer service. I've learned about talking to manufacturers. I've learned about outsourcing, shipping, and packaging. And it only really dawned on me when I was explaining to my friend about this failure that I had, that I'd literally had no sales for my clothing brand, which actually the link is still down below. You can check it out if you want to. It wasn't until she was like, oh my God, I wouldn't even know where to start with that. I don't even know what taxes are. I don't know the difference between VAT and business tax and business expenses, how to set up a website. I don't even know what CEO means. And then I realized that, oh my God, I've learned so many invaluable lessons from this, even though it failed. To me, that is success. So whatever you've failed at, maybe it's exam taking, maybe it's getting to that dream university, you've gone through that process. Failure isn't a full stop, it's a comma. The people who are successful in life didn't stop because they had a failure. If they did, we wouldn't see half of them at the moment, because what they did is they took it and they tried again and again and again until it succeeded. They didn't let that one thing, that little bit of self-doubt, that one fail, that one little trip, stop them from achieving their goals and seeing their vision. They saw it as an experiment. They saw it as something to pivot. They learned from each single mistake rather than self-victimizing and putting it all on themselves and calling themselves a failure. No, they told themselves, my project didn't work out the way I thought it was going to. What can I do differently now to guarantee success next time I try? Remember that the pain of failure is temporary. It doesn't last forever, and it doesn't determine your worth and who you are as a person. You shouldn't label yourself a failure just because your external project or your external situation didn't go to plan. Now it's time for the takeaway box, and this time it's going to be a kind of loyalty card scheme. If you're new here, every time we leave a video, I always give you a little takeaway box because I am slightly guilty of getting takeaway a bit too often. Today's going to be a bit of a points card version. I want you, every single time you flop, you fail, you feel like everything went to a disaster, to put a stamp on your takeaway card. And those points are going to add up to bigger lessons in life. Every 10 stamps, you've gained clarity. You're getting a clearer vision of what you want to do in life and what you actually want to accomplish on those 10 other little flops that maybe didn't go well. Every 15, you're gaining unshakable confidence in yourself. No matter what happens, you're still standing, you're still alive, you're still living your life, and you're still trying. And then for every 20, you're seeing a breakthrough. So for example, every question that you try and you fail, every 20, you're breaking through. If you're making a video, every 20, another breakthrough. You're gaining these loyalty points in flops or failures rather than beating yourself up and putting that all on yourself, because that's not fair and it's also not true. So you're not failing, you're collecting points. If you failed recently, I'm proud of you. It means you're playing big. It means you're actually going for your goals. And the fact you've clicked on this video just proves that you want it so badly, and you will get it, babe. The universe is redirecting you. You are not your failures. You see them as experiments to try, change the variable. See what happens when you do something differently. And when you do win, you earned it because you went through all those failures. It wasn't easy for you. You're gonna have an inevitable success story you can talk about all these times that you failed in the past. Otherwise, I hope this video gave you some good takeaway points, some motivational insight, and also a bit of reassurance that you're not alone when you failed. There's a lot of vulnerability and shame when it comes to talking about failures and when things don't go right. And I wish I had somebody on my shoulder tell me, you know what, it's okay, you're gonna fail, and there's no shame in that. You need to share that and express those experiences rather than hiding them or not telling anyone about it, which is what I did at the beginning. Succeeds first time. It might look like that on the outside, but they really don't. Just don't talk about all those failed experiences in the past. But otherwise, there's a new video here every Friday and Sunday. I've also got bite-sized empowerment on my Instagram and TikTok almost every single day, as well as my active insights podcast, where all these YouTube videos are uploaded in audio form. I'm wishing you a blessed week. God, everyone's out and about in their uni dorms. My God, I feel a bit self-conscious. I was like on the other, for context, I'm on like one side and there's a whole uni halls there, and everyone has just like opened their windows.